Warm greetings. Welcome to Grammar for Lake, a podcast with a goal to understand urban lakes of India. I'm Akash, a curious youth who has often wondered about the life of lakes around us. In this series, I'll be speaking with Dr. Mansee Bal Bhargava, who has spent over 3 decades learning, loving, and living the urban lakes. In the conversation, we shall explore and experience our understanding about lakes since they are very much part of our lives, whether we realize it or not. Together, we shall co learn and co create how we make knowledge, appreciate, and celebrate these lakes that quietly shape our cities and our communities. Without further ado, let's continue our conversation on lake ethology and ornithology from last week. Today, we talk about birds and why they may not be as frequent as they once were. Dr. Mansi, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Akash, and it's good to come back and have a discussion on the other beings, not human beings.
Yes. So today we talk about birds. We were talking about fishes last week. So let
Yes,
me straight away ask my first questions. Where do the
yes,
birds fit in the lake?
yes. First of all, we need to understand, and as we started discussing in the last time also, the two important streams of natural science. Was ichthyology, study of fishes, and ornithology is basically dedicated to study of birds. And which actually tries to understand the different aspects of the avian life, their evolution, anatomy, physiology, behavior, migration, their role in the entire life cycle of the planet, or you could call it ecological cycle, and so on and so forth. Now, when we talk about birds and lakes, we need to understand that they are kind of inherent part or fundamental part of a lake ecosystem. No birds coming to the lake means there are no fishes, and no fishes means the lake is not a lake, it's a pool. Either cesspool, so wastewater pool, or swimming pool. Some birds may just take a dip into the pool sometimes, but not to catch fish or algae or any other aquatic flora and fauna. And the thing is, when we talk about birds as daily language or daily talking, we know very different kinds of birds. Then we talk about uh, the birds related to lakes. And I want to clear that myth today, to be honest, in this conversation. And every region has its own, I will say, native birds, like native fishes. Every lake has its native fishes. And the type of fish also decides the type of birds who frequent those water bodies. That's important to understand. And do they really find a place in our study of not study, by the way, but studies of definitely in ornithology they do find, but do they find place in our study of lakes? That's a question mark, and my answer straight away to it is no. When we are talking about lake development, lake restoration, lake project, lake policy, unfortunately, birds are still not having that much right to the lake discourse, because it is also kind of complementary to study or presence of fishes. If we are not talking about how much fish in the lake, obviously we are not talking about how many birds in coming to the lake. They are still external. At least fish we can claim very directly that they have the first right to the water bodies. you know but then in that case, the birds are actually having the second right to the water bodies, right after fish. So if fishes are not finding their place in our policy documents the way they should, of course birds are not finding, and it has a serious repercussions we can discuss while we take your next questions.
All right, so that's very interesting. You said that the type of fishes decide the type of bird. So if I want certain bird, I should get certain type of fish near me, and then probably we'll
But
have that.
then that's a human aspiration, because that is exactly what we have been doing. I mean,
What we have
we
been
want
doing.
to
Yes.
bring fish from X and Y place, and then it is changing the entire avian landscape of our cities. See, we are now flooded. with pigeons in the cities, which is an invasive
Yeah.
species. And we did talk about in ichthyology how catfish is an invasive species in the lakes,
Right.
you know. So then, if we are changing lake ecology, we are also changing the avian ecology of the
Yeah.
place as well. And that's a
Understood.
worry.
Yeah. Yeah. That certainly is a worry.
So yes, we can
So,
joke about it, and this joke, unfortunately, is seriously happening in practice in our lake development and restoration projects. And that
correct.
is why we are having this conversation, that we have to take it seriously.
Right.
You
All
know,
right.
having a little pool in your house and having certain kind of fishes is completely different than
Then
upscaling it and doing it in a large lake and
last
wetland,
day.
which is unfortunately happening.
Correct. All right. Coming to my second question, how is lake ornithology misunderstood?
Yes, lake ornithology misunderstanding comes from the very fact that we do not directly link it with the life of the lake. And that then we think that birds exist everywhere because they are avian and air birds. We are not able to link it that their life so much depends on the life of the water body. As I said, they have the second right to the water body right after the fishes. You know, if we are talking about natural system which are in the animal category, of course in the fauna category they are calling, but if in the flora category there are different discussions altogether, which we will talk later in some session. But the misunderstanding also arrives from the fact that we don't see its dependency on the lake. You know, we think birds can find their water from somewhere. They exist. Actually, honestly speaking, because we don't consume birds as in consumption, it is not also in a discussion, like at least in water bodies there is some ounce of discussion about fisheries, because fisheries or fishes are part of our livelihood. And until recently, till we did not have communal angle to water bodies, we were actually having fishing rights to most of the water bodies by law. But now, most of the lakes in the country, not wetlands, but lakes, because we are talking about lakes here, most of the lakes in the country now are actually having new law of not fishing from the lake, which is another problem altogether. But the thing is that if we are not linking that the type of lake, type of fish decides the type of aviary in that area, that itself is a deep misunderstanding, to be honest, and not finding their place in the policy document because we don't understand the interconnectivity. And the fact that we think that birds live in the trees, they are flying all the time and here and there, and putting a little bowl of water in front of your house can feed the birds' needs. Yes, it's a good gesture, but sorry, it is not the gesture required. More required is that you have better water in the lake where native fishes can live and native birds can flourish. And many birds are also procreating, mating at the lake bed. When I say lake bed, I mean edge of the lake. You know, it's their favorite place. They hide their eggs, many of them. So we need to understand the importance how lake ecology, especially at the edge of the lake, is so important and so rich for both aquatic birds as well as airborne birds. I mean, imagine ducks. Not seeing ducks in a city now is a failure of a habitat. If you have 100 lakes in a city and you don't see ducks, then there is a problem. If you don't see geese, then there is a problem, which means the lake ecology is not supporting these local birds, which are both, by the way, they are amphibian, we can say, both water and land born. We are not considering them because we, for unfortunately, yeah, I was giving this example and I forgot and lost track. Unfortunately, the way we look at sun and moon, okay, they are there, so what? We consider birds like that. Hmm? ठीक है, they are there, so what? We are not realizing that intervention in a lake is changing the whole bird ecosystem. That's a big misunderstanding we are carrying. We still will think, chalo, we bring fish from here and there. Again, not realizing that bringing fish here from here and there is changing birds' taste. It's just like you going to a restaurant where you love to eat food. You don't go to places where you don't like to eat food. With the food which you don't like, you will not go there. Birds also behave like that. This whole this podcast we are doing to link it with our lives. I will not go to a restaurant which I don't like to eat food there. Why will bird come to a lake where they don't find their own taste of algae, their own taste of fishes? It's very simple. We are not realizing it. So over to you.
Right, that was a very interesting example. Uh, we a lot of us don't want to change our habits, but we are unfortunately or without realizing we are changing their habits or maybe forcing new habits on the birds.
Absolutely.
All right, that was quite interesting to learn. Coming to my third question, what challenges come in the way of acknowledging lake ornithology?
Yes. I think the challenge is that when we talk about birds, so one, of course, the misunderstanding itself is a challenge, and that is why we are also doing this series because this whole myth has to go there out. But the bigger challenge is whenever we imagine birds for lakes, let's say hypothetically, we are imagining birds to be coming to lakes because that's how we define our nature. Beautiful manicured garden, very well shaped plants, very well paved, and the fishes are dancing when you are going, and birds are chirping when you are going to the lake or park. Now, when we are imagining birds, we imagine those exotic birds. For me, that's a problem. It's just like in the society, people who have name and money or fame and money, they are the ones identified as living. Rest of us, common citizens, our identity does not matter. We don't exist apart from few papers. Likewise, we somehow miss the presence of everyday bird, crow, sparrow, parrots, of course, pigeons also, but they have grown over than required. But when we are imagining birds in the lakes, we straight away get into looking for herons, pelicans, you can keep naming them, egrets, and I can just keep on talking about different names, flamingos. We can talk about other birds, marsh birds, duck birds, spoonbill, and unlimited. So the point is again our mentality of this idol worship, famous name and money people. So when we are imagining birds in the lakes or wetlands, we imagine those fancy birds, which are mostly migratory birds. That if we do this, birds will come and go. And we are not imagining our everyday birds who survive on these lakes. And for me, that's a problem. So it's a cultural tendency which we carry in the society. Who are important people? So very clear two distinct class. People who have money and name and people who don't have, they are non-existent in our society, almost no identity. And this is how we are discriminating between the birds also. So we take notice of a nice pelican when we see or a hornbill when we see and we appreciate it. In this process we arrived at a time in a society when we are not seeing house sparrows. A very simple example, they have almost become extinct species because we don't take note of them. Tailor birds, they are supposed to be living with us. They are very domesticate nature of bird, very social birds. Just because again like sun and moon, okay, they are there, let them be there, we are losing them, and their life in and out is dependent on the water bodies. So for me, this is a bigger problem of discrimination between the birds. Just like we prefer to have Hollywood, Bollywood actors as beautiful, even in birds, we are looking for beautiful birds coming to the lakes. Not all birds coming to the lakes. So even bird watching, when we do, like a lake near my house called Sheila's Lake, and there are very well known bird enthusiasts. They have spotted more than 100 birds in one lake. Imagine a small lake of 2 acres or 3 acres, now left, earlier it was bigger, more than 100 varieties of birds, more than 10 varieties of snakes. We are still not there to the snake ecology. We will come there later on. But then you are just spotting those colorful, long beak, again, going by the beauty of, like a beauty cream ad, do this and you become beautiful. So, personally, for me, that's a bigger problem, because some birds do find their identity and presence in documents, and they are these birds. As I said, I have nothing against them, but my point is, the majority of the population in this country are common citizens. Likewise, the majority of the birds are everyday birds, and they define the ecology. If they exist more in numbers, then we have a fair chance of migratory and beautiful birds, so called beautiful birds. Our idea of beauty, as I said, is cute. They will come more because the local birds are signaling a presence of good ecology. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I mean, it's a community of birds which will signal whether you get your guests or not. So they are kind of host birds of the region. If the hosts are healthy, then they are willing able to receive people. It's just like people coming to your house. How healthy and wealthy you are and how welcoming you are will decide who is going to come to your house or not. So it's good to have your guests, but it is more important to take care of the native birds of the place. And the loss of native birds is also equivalent to invasion of invasive species. Pigeon, just like lakes. You keep pouring catfish, you lose native fishes. And at some point now, in India, we are trying to get rid of catfish. And it is so difficult. And pigeons have reached that stage. It's one of the 5 species of birds which are invasive in the world now, just like cattle. And it is not coincidence, it is a systematic degradation of aviary in the landscape, in the urban scape, that some species is flourishing. And it's not that bird is eating bird. It's not like that, because pigeon is a herbivorous. It's just that the ecology is changing. You're changing the trees, you're changing the water bodies, and it is changing they are not procreating. If you don't have lake edge, where will amphibians procreate? Where will they hide their eggs? Imagine. And that's how it is changing the landscape. And we are not able to deal with it. Because we want those birds from, winter landscape should come and visit here. They will only come when they have fishes and the local birds. Why will they come otherwise? Flamingos, why will they come if they don't find good local fishes? Then they can eat in their their native spaces only, no? Because migratory birds are, so we have to understand one important thing about birds. For birds, lakes are their nesting place. Lakes are their resting place. These are two important things. We think that birds only rest in the trees. No, their main resting place is also lakes. I mean, all water bodies for that matter. They just don't go for drinking water, they do other things as well. And especially, I think the major hit has come to the amphibian birds, because it's like they are neither now in the water and nor they are in the on the land. They are very vulnerable and threatened now. And the fact that ducks and geese are also part of the poultry industry, we don't see them as part of ecology now. You know, I will stop here, to be honest. And I'd love to take names of all the birds, but that it will be too much. But I want to just give one optimistic example to you how extinct species, or probably I'll take it in the next question, because that will be a very motivating way to look at how we can change things probably. Yeah, so maybe I'll stop here.
Okay, that was a lot of knowledge that I learned. So first of all, we talked about native species and how uh, we are being partial towards what we like, and how, and then we also talked about the health and wealth of uh, the native people. Once they are healthy, will the guest be, turn up
Yes,
in the similar capacity?
absolutely.
Uh, then there was something which struck me. You mentioned about some birds which were highly domesticated.
Hmm. I mean,
So
they know to live with humans, you know, very
now,
social birds.
if they
Yes.
know, if they love to live with humans, then my question is: did our ancestor take care of them better than us?
Absolutely, I have no two doubts about it because I remember in the childhood, sparrows were like everywhere. I mean, there is a comeback of sparrows in some regions of the country, but the misunderstanding is that we think that sparrows and crows they do not require lake. That's my problem. You know, when we think of lake and birds, we straight away jump into hornbill, flamingos, who are migratory birds to the lakes. They are not living here every day. The house of the local birds are these lakes, these trees, the native trees around the lakes. You know, if they don't flourish, then we have problem in guests coming, which are migratory birds, of course. So we need to understand also these three broad categories for that matter: amphibian birds, birds which are everywhere for that matter, more airborne, and tree birds. They still need lakes, and of course migratory birds who come and go every year. You know, you saw in during corona time Mumbai flooded with flamingos after many decades. Why? Because the water got cleaner, the ecosystem revived. They had
So
completely
what?
disappeared. They had
So,
disappeared from Mumbai landscape. Now they are back
so during Corona, the water got clear on its own.
because we were not doing much human activity. How
Oh,
interesting is that? So I mean, see, I am a strong believer of not doing things as a
mhm.
de-development. I will say practitioner or believer. If we don't do many things, which is where we will also discuss about lake development, de-development, and restoration. Actually, lakes do not need us to do many things. The biggest problem is that we do too many things. Because the moment you start doing, you start putting your aspiration into it. What kind of fishes? Because we are talking about ornithology and ichthyology. What kind of fishes without knowing that it will change the bird landscape? You know? So if you don't do anything, nature will take care of itself.
Hmm.
And that's a completely different discussion altogether. But if you just focus on the birds here. So,
Yeah. So coming back to the topic, coming to my
hmm,
last question,
yes.
how can we improve our understanding of lake ornithology, and what would be your solution to course correct?
I think I mean important improvement in understanding is going places. Of course, water education, lake education, because water education has everything than the ecosystem. Is that birds also needs lake, and they have the second right to lakes, right after fishes. Before we decide anything, that's an important change which we need to bring in our mindset, in our course, in our conversations. And I think the course corrections, we have very good examples from around the world. And I can give one or two examples from India itself. And we have very good startups who are working on bird sensors, you know. So we need to understand how to use bird sensors in India, and it is already there. So we don't need to go anywhere. We have very nicely done AI based bird census option. And it has water birds, it has everyday birds, it has state birds. Uh, you also have good apps. I mean, you have Merlin Bird app, for example. It's not from India, but you now all of us can actually have the BirdNet app, and you can listen to a bird. and find out which bird it is, and it will get its whole biography and physiography in front of you, and you can start educating yourself. However, this education may not be enough to tell you that they are dependent on lakes. So I think an important example I want to give again here as an optimistic way to go forward is if you know Dr. Purnima Devi, Purnima Devi Burman, an award-winning wildlife biologist for that matter from Assam, and she's also called the Stoke sister, and she took up one species of bird from wetland, and the bird name is Hargila. Last, actually, I just remember because last week she was given a big award in at a global platform. But what she did, and Hargila is not an alien or migratory bird. It's a very local bird or native bird, as we are calling. She took it as a species, and she has been working on it for nearly 2 decades to protect it. Awareness. Just one. And we have also these sparrow parents, I mean, people who are promoting sparrows. So, my suggestion will be to take the very native, the last mile bird or the very localized bird of the place and take it as an indicator and promote it, because that bird has the power to bring other birds. That's the point we are also trying to discuss here. I mean, if my house is good, then people are going to visit me. It's just like so. Dr. Purnima Devi has actually revived the whole population of Hargila, which is also called the adjutant stork, and she has taken women. It's a woman initiative, and a lot of women are working on it. It's a lake bird, it's a river bird, but importantly it's a freshwater bird, whether it is lake, wetlands or rivers, but they are mostly seen in the wetland, large lakes, we can say like that. And within 2 decades, it's an extinct species. It is still in the IUCN list of extinct species, and they have revived the number just by public awareness, because it was considered as a bad omen bird. It's a huge bird, so called not good looking bird, because we are so discriminating among human beings. As I said in this conversation, also, we are also discriminating with birds who are good looking and who are not good looking. For example, many people don't like to see crows. Crow, if it is coming in front of your house or in your house area and making cow cow, we consider it as a bad omen. So these are all, for me, these are myths. I mean, then we have to grow past those things. So even Hargila suffered, and people used to kill it because it was a bad omen. you know and the fact that it is a scavenger bird, which means also cleans, we have to understand most of the native birds are also scavenger birds. Crow, there is a very beautiful study, the extinction of crow from a region, which means also the increase in other insects, increase in garbage, because these are scavenger birds. And crow is again another last mile bird, a very localized bird. So my point is that one thing is that we should focus on one localized bird or two localized bird of the region and start promoting and start working on their conservation, because that will thrive the other ecosystems, other birds. And the second is we have many number of IUCN lists which we need to really look into, basically which are the birds which are extinct. So IUCN stands for International Union for Conservation of Nature, and which has a huge biodiversity list which tells us which are the extinction species. So they have orange category, red category, yellow, just like traffic light category or green category, and invasive category as well. If your region had some local birds which are now in red and orange category, we can also start working on it. And somehow we will be able to find out that the death of the water bodies or the pollution of the water bodies is linked to their extinction as well. And that's how the deep connection is, how water bodies are there. So I think these small understandings, if they can get into our lake conservation, development, restoration projects, we can revive them. We can bring them back. But not having lake and to have birds is not possible. I mean, see, the prima facie need will be to have a good lake. I will stop here.
Right. That was very interesting to learn. I would certainly look those apps up first of all and check what
Yes.
are the birds which are scaring my cat
Okay,
every
that's also
morning.
good. It's a part of the cycle. Yes.
Yeah, it's my, they locally we call them seven sisters
Hmm.
because they come in a group and they're
Hmm.
very noisy, very noisy. And my
So
cat
there's
is
a
scared,
community
so
bird.
she
I think it's the light gray brownish bird, the community bird.
it's
It's a very
brownish. Yeah,
social bird.
it's
I'm not remembering the name, but yes.
yeah, it's a very social bird. They
Hmm.
they I haven't heard them from some days, but they do come and make a lot of noise, and my cat is.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it was an interesting conversation. I'll certainly check those apps up, and it was a very good suggestion by you that we can list the birds. We can look at the birds which are in the red and orange category and start to do something about them.
Yes,
And when people pay more attention, maybe they realize that doing something about the lakes will actually help their efforts over
absolutely.
here.
I missed saying this for the last session also on ichthyology that applies equally for the fish population because the International Union for Conservation of Nature, which is IUCN, the most important body of biodiversity, they have also list of fishes which we should look into
Okay.
when we want to decide if I mean, of course they do not have detailed list of local species, but we have a specialist all. It's, it boils down to the fact that every lake development and restoration project should involve ichthyologist and ornithologist. I missed that line. I thought
Yeah.
it should come.
Right.
I mean, we don't have to be expert. The Akash and Mansee doesn't have to be expert about birds and fishes. We have experts. Just get them
Yeah.
on board in the
Experts.
projects. you know.
And you talk about the lake edge. That was a very minute thing. I did not really think about it.
I would
That lake
love
edge is where the birds they hide their eggs, and if the edge
some
is
birds.
gone,
Yeah, I would
some
love to
some
talk about it, to be honest. When we start talking about the lake shape and everything and size, we will divide it into lake base, lake edge, a lake catchment, lake inlet, lake outlet. We will have different discussions on all of these. And you will find that how fascinating lake edge is. I will try to pull an image for it. I mean, of course, not done by me, but by an artist from Auroville. And that captures everything.
that would be an interesting session.
Yeah.
All right. So wrapping up this session, to our viewers, in case there are questions or comments, we are happy to hear from you. You may find Grammar of a Lake session on our YouTube channel, V for Water, and on our website, www.w4w.in, along with many conversations dedicated to water. Since we believe water conversations are a way towards water conservation. Stay tuned. See you again on Saturday Sailing. Take care and thank you for listening. Dr. Mansi, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Akash. See you soon. One more nice topic. Yeah.